Good morning, everyone. How are you? Now it's time to explain lecture for week 23 in semester 2. This week it's term for comprehension and phonics. Okay, are you ready? Let's start. What we're going to cover in this lecture, I will introduce the new theme. I will introduce new keywords related to the new theme. Also, we're going to have a new comprehension skill, which is compare and contrast. You will be able to demonstrate awareness of how to fill the Venn diagram, which is related to the compare and contrast. And at the end, we will introduce and read words with inflectional endings. What do we mean by inflectional endings? Stay with me till the end of the video, then you will master all of the given objectives. So, our resources for this lecture. For the comprehension, as usual, you have the RWW book, Reading, Writing Workshop book, pages 106, 107 for the vocabulary words. We have in the same book pages 108 to 111, the reading lesson, A Modern Cinderella. And for the phonics, in ISI phonics booklet, the lesson inflectional endings, pages 104 to 112. Okay, let's start now. Inflectional endings, ed and ing. When we say inflectional endings, we mean when we add ed and when we add ing to the action verbs. So, when do we add ing to the action verb? We add ing to talk about an action that is happening right now in the present. Example: checking. I am checking my laptop. I am checking my lecture, for example. Or another example, accepting. I am accepting the invitation for the meeting. So when you want to talk about an action happening right now, so you have to add ing to the action verb. So when we add the ing to the action verb, then the verb becomes with an inflectional endings. Okay? The second inflectional ending is ed. When do we add the ed to the action verb? We add ed to talk about an action that happened and already finished in the past. If you remember, when we took previously the simple past tense, we said that some verbs to express that the action is happening in the past, happened and finished already in the past, we have to add ed, and those verbs we call them regular verbs because this is what the rule says. So, for another example, I checked my laptop yesterday. I accepted the invitation for the game. So you see, here we added the inflectional ending ed. So simply, inflectional endings are ed and ing that we add to the action verbs. Now, are there certain things that I have to pay attention when I add ing or ed to the verbs? Yes. Sometimes when the verbs end with e, then we have to drop the letter e at the end before adding ing and ed. So when we have a verb ending in letter e, we have to drop the e before adding ing or ed. For example, the verb save here ends with e. So when I want to add the ing or the ed, I have to remove the e first, then I add the ing or the ed. Simple and easy. When do we double the final consonant? Sometimes we have to double the final consonant. Why? When we have one syllable word we mean a word, very short word that has only one part, one sound. Okay? Or sometimes we have words with more than one syllable, verbs with more than one syllable, but the last syllable is short and has one vowel letter. In these verbs or in these words, we stress on the last consonant letter. So when you add ing or ed, you would notice that you are stressing on the consonant letter. That's why we have to double it. Okay, so wrap, wrapping, ping. So I'm stressing on the p, so I have to double the p and add ing. If I want to add ed, wrap, wrapped, wrapped, p. So I'm stressing on the p, so that's why I have to double it. Then I have to add ed. Isn't that awesome? And the last thing that we have to pay attention when we are adding the inflectional endings, sometimes the verb ends with y. Okay? Ends with y. If I want to add ing, then it's okay. I directly add ing. But what if I want to add ed? If the verb ends with Y, and before the Y I have a consonant letter, as in study here. Here study ends with Y, and before the Y I have a consonant letter D. Then I have to cross out the Y, put I, then add ED. Attention! When the action verbs ends in a vowel and a Y, if I have a vowel letter before the Y, then I directly add ED. So if I want to add the inflectional ending ed to the verb that ends with Y, I have to look before the Y. If there is a consonant letter, then I have to cross out the Y and add IED. But if there is a vowel letter, I do not cross out anything, I just add ED. In case I want to add ing to the verb that ends with Y, then I just add ing and I do not change anything at all. So we finished the phonics part now. I think that it's very simple and easy. You can go to the pages in the ISI booklet and solve the questions there. Okay, now it's time to start with our comprehension part. So, what's our new theme about? Let's watch this video and see what the theme is talking
set out to complete a task, seek an answer, or find information about something, you never know where your journey may lead you. Sometimes it may feel as if you're running through a maze.
When you first set out
you might even find yourself feeling lost or heading into greater difficulty. But if you successfully complete the task and find the answer, you gain a great sense of accomplishment. Then you look forward to the next time, when another journey will sweep you away.
But if you successfully complete the task and find the answer, you gain a great sense of accomplishment. Then you look forward to the next time, when another journey will sweep you away.
So our new theme teaches us that if we want to seek an answer, then we might fall and rise too many times. So whenever you want to know something or to find information, you would be as if you are in a journey. So you might face a lot of things and a lot of adventures while reaching the information that you want. Let's start with the vocabulary words, the new keywords. First word, circumstances. Circumstances. Again, I repeat it, circumstances. The definition. When we say circumstances, we mean the conditions or events that exist with other things and may have an effect on them. So, in other words, we can simply say what's happening around something and how it can affect it. Example. There are many circumstances that can make roads impossible to drive on. So there are many conditions, many circumstances, many things that could happen and affect on the roads, so we cannot drive on them. A question for you. Under what circumstances might schools be closed? What could be a serious circumstance that could cause schools to close? Like nowadays, why are schools closed? Schools are closed due to the pandemic COVID-19. So, COVID-19 is one of the circumstances that led schools to close. You see? Circumstances. Second word, consideration. A careful thought needed before making a final decision. So when you have to make a final decision, when you need to do something, then you have to think about it carefully. So this is consideration, thinking carefully before making a decision. Example, my mom gives careful consideration to the fresh fruit she buys. So when my mom goes to buy fruits, she would like to give careful consideration. She wants to check if they are fresh or not, because if the fruits are fresh, then she will buy them. But if the fruits are not fresh, then she's not going to buy them. What is a synonym for consideration? Simply, we can say consideration is thinking carefully. Consults. Ask for advice. So consultation means asking for an advice. Or in other words, I advise you, I consult you. Okay? Example, a driver consults a map to find which road to travel on. Here, it's like the driver asking the map for an advice, so the map would tell the driver what road to take during his journey. Explain why someone consults a dictionary. For example, now you as a student, sometimes you resort to the dictionary. Why? When you find some difficult words. So, when you find a difficult word that you don't know what it means, so you consult the dictionary, you take an advice from the dictionary. The dictionary helps you guess the meaning of the word. Consults. Destiny. Destiny. What happens especially when it seems to be determined in advance? So, it's destiny, it's like you know what is going to happen, but based on what you're doing now. Lena loves ballet so much, so I think her destiny is to become a dancer. So since here Lena loves ballet so much, we can look forward and see that she's going to be a dancer. So her destiny is to become a dancer. What might the destiny of a hard-working student be? What could happen with a hard-working student who studies day and night and who does all of his or her homework? He or she will succeed at the end. Excellent. So the destiny of a hard-working student to succeed in class. Destiny. Expectations. Expectations. Believe or expect that certain things will happen. When you believe in your mind or in your heart that something that is going to happen, so this is an expectation. You expect it to happen. Jamie's present lived up to her expectations. Jamie's present, she got a present and the present was what she expected. Maybe, for example, she expected to get a cell phone, then her present was a cell phone. So her present lived up to her expectations, is like what she expected. Tell about something that lived up to your expectations. What lived up to my expectations is graduating from university, for example. Expectations. Presence. Presence, the area around or near a person. So imagine that you're in a place and what's around you is the presence. The visitors were thrilled to be in the presence of the Queen of England. So all the people or the visitors were around the Queen, so they were in the presence of the Queen. When have you been in the presence of someone well known? For example, I was in the presence of the actor and the comedian Abbas Jafar 2 years ago, for example. So I was in the presence of that person, so I was beside or near him. Presence. Reveal. Reveal. Show or display. To show something or to display it, especially if it was hidden. The actor opened the curtain to reveal what was behind it. So the actor opened the curtain in order to show what was behind the curtain. Why don't magicians reveal their secrets? They do not reveal their secrets or show them because people will know that they are tricking them and they won't watch them anymore. Reveal. Unsure. Unsure, not certain about where you should look or what to do. You're unsure, so you are not certain, you are not sure what to do. The chess player was unsure of what move to make next. So he was thinking, he didn't know if he must go right or left, for example. Let me give you another example. The student was unsure of his answer. So he wasn't sure if his answer is correct or wrong. So he was unsure. What is an antonym for unsure? Antonym will mean the opposite of unsure. We can say sure or certain. You are sure or certain about something. Okay? So unsure means you're not certain. Okay, so we have finished from our vocabulary words, keywords. I hope that they are very clear for you. If you want to practice them more, you can write them in sentences. It would be good for you. Now, let's move to our new genre this week. What is the genre this week? This week we have a fairy tale. Fairy tale. Okay? So, our selection is, its title is A Modern Cinderella. Now we're going to read it with each other. its genre is a fairy tale. Why? Why do we say that it is a fairy tale? First of all, it's a made-up setting. So the settings are not real. Setting is not real, such as once upon a time. Made up. Okay? A prince or princess and magical characters may be included in the fairy tale. So whenever you find a prince, princess, or magical characters, so whenever we have something like magic, then it's not a realistic fiction. No, it is a fairy tale, and also it includes a lot of illustrations. Are you ready for the reading lesson? Let's start. A modern Cinderella. Once upon a time, the time being the other night, the prince was as joyous as a gamer with the new highest score. He had just danced with an amazing young woman at the royal palace. It was during the taping of his weekly TV show, Dancing with the Prince. He had only agreed to do the show to help his mother, the queen, raise money for charity. But when the prince twirled this lovely dancer in the presence of the audience and judges, he felt as if he were floating on a cloud. However, circumstances changed as soon as the music stopped at midnight. As the applause began, the young woman's cell phone rang, and she rushed from the palace. All she left behind was a purple sneaker. The prince fell in a dungeon of despair. "I must find her again," he cried, "and in time for tomorrow night's final show." How should he search? He clutched the purple sneaker in his hand. Seeing the prince's tears, the queen advised, "He who consults the right sources will surely succeed." The prince's mind raced like a galloping horse on his favorite game, Horse Chaser. After much consideration, he made a plan. First, he interviewed everyone who had attended the show, but no one could help. Next, the prince searched the internet. He entered the phrase, "great dancer with purple shoe," but he found no one. Then the prince put up posters of the purple sneaker all over the kingdom's social network. Yet, no one recognized the shoe or knew its owner. So you see, now the prince is trying to seek for an answer to his question. He wants to know who the girl is, who the dancer is. So he started searching for her, and he started putting a plan. He followed many steps in order to reach his answer at the end. Let's continue. The prince held the purple sneaker in one hand and his computer compass in the other. "I will continue my quest," he cried, "even if I must personally travel the entire kingdom." With that, the prince powered up his royal electric skateboard and set out. At the first house, a woman came out to greet the prince. He held out the sneaker and announced, "This shoe will tell me if you are my destiny." The excited woman struggled to jam her large foot into the shoe, but the sneaker was much too small. At the next house, another woman eagerly tried on the sneaker. The shoe flopped and fell off. At every home the prince visited, the purple sneaker seemed as big as a boat or as small as a seed. Every foot failed to meet his expectations. As the day wore on, the prince grew sadder. His discouraged heart was a cell phone in need of recharging. Finally, there was only one house left to visit. When the prince arrived, 3 sisters stood in front, offering their feet. They'd been following the news feed. The shoe fit none of them. "Does anyone else live here?" a weary prince asked the sisters. From inside the house came a chime. The sisters' eyes became narrow slits. A young woman stepped outside and handed a phone to the oldest sister. The prince quickly held out the sneaker and requested, "Please try this on." She did, and it fit her foot perfectly. "You're my missing dancer," the prince cried. "Will you be my dance partner forever?" The young woman smiled and replied, "Thanks, but not right now. I'll dance tomorrow, but I have a lot of plans. First, I want to travel." The prince begged, "Please say yes. After all, this is a fairy tale where anything can happen." "Sorry, prince," the woman said. "You'll just have to wait." "That's cool," the prince sighed, "but at least reveal your name." "It's Cinderella," the woman replied. She scribbled on a piece of paper. "Here's my number. Let's stay in touch. TTYLP. Talk to you later, prince." The prince looked puzzled and was unsure of how to reply. It means to talk to you later, Prince, Cinderella explained. TTYLC, the prince replied as he waved to Cinderella and rode away, and they texted happily ever after. Okay, now I hope that you have enjoyed the fairy tale. It's very funny and it's easy to understand. That's right. Now it's time to start with our comprehension skill, which is compare and contrast. When we say compare and contrast, we mean showing similarities and differences. Compare, the first one. Compare. We use compare to show what is the same about two or more things, to show similarities. So when I say compare, I mean that I'm talking about similarities, things that are the same or alike between two things or more. Example here, the oranges and bananas. What's similar, or what are the similarities between oranges and bananas? How are they alike? You eat both of them. Yes, that's right. Both can be eaten. They are both fruits. That's also right. You have to peel both of them. Also right. So here now we have three similarities between oranges and bananas. We can do both for oranges and bananas. Contrast. Now, when we say contrast, we mean that we want to show the differences, how they are different, how two things or more are different. The same example for oranges and bananas. Let's see now, what's the difference between oranges and bananas? Oranges are orange. The color is a difference, but bananas are yellow. Oranges are round. Now the shape is different, but bananas are long. Oranges have seeds, but bananas don't have seeds. So you see, these are differences, because if I find seeds in oranges but I don't find seeds in bananas, this means that it's a difference. They are not similar, they don't both have it. Okay, so when we say similarities, we mean when we say compare, we mean similarities, how two things or more are similar. When we say contrast, we mean differences, how two things or more are different. Now, what about the Venn diagram? What is the Venn diagram? The Venn diagram is this one, the drawing on the right. It's like two circles intersecting with each other. Why do I use this Venn diagram? The Venn diagram is a great way to organize your thoughts when you are comparing and to contrasting two things. So when the two circles intersect, in the middle, it's like I'm going to have a common part. So in the common part, I write the similarities, both. So the similarities. But on the other sides that they do not intersect, I write the differences. So in the middle, you put how the two objects are alike. On the sides, you put how the objects are different. So this is what we call the Venn diagram. And we use the Venn diagram to compare and contrast between two or more things. Example of the Venn diagram. How do I fill in the Venn diagram? Let's take the same example for oranges and bananas. Pay attention, in the Venn diagram or in any other organization or chart, I don't use complete sentences, I use phrases. For example, now in the middle, I need to write the similarities between oranges and bananas. What are the similarities? Fruits. Both are fruits, so I write fruits. Can eat it. We can eat them both. Have to peel it. So, fruits, can eat it, have to peel it. So this is in both. But now the differences, oranges and bananas, how are they different? The oranges is orange. I write orange at the oranges, but I write yellow at the banana. The color is different. Oranges have seeds, so I write have seeds. And the bananas doesn't have seed, the banana, or the bananas don't have seed. It depends if it's singular or plural. The last one, oranges, round, the bananas, long. So you see, this is how you fill in the Venn diagram. It's very easy and simple, not complicated. Just use phrases. Okay? How do I differentiate between similarities and differences in a text? Imagine that you have a short text, a short paragraph that talks about similarities and differences between two or more things. How do I differentiate which are the similarities and which are the differences? Let's see. Read the text well so you can compare ideas, events, characters, and other details. Use a Venn diagram to organize similarities and differences in the passage. So first of all, read the paragraph at least twice, then draw a Venn diagram. Then look for the clue words. So there are certain words that help you figure out if I'm talking about a similarity or a difference. What are these clue words? Let's see what these clue words are. Let's see. The compare words, the words that I use for comparison, are like, same, have in common, as well as, both the same as, similar, in the same way, most important, similarly, likely, as, to. But if I want to show contrast, so I have to use the contrast words. Although, however, differ, unlike, even though, yet, but, instead, on the contrary, whereas, while, unless, contrary to, on the other hand, the reverse. So all these words show contrast, show differences. Okay, so there are certain words that I have to use when I want to show similarities, and certain words that I have to use when I want to show differences. And wait on, later next week when we take the writing, you're going to write compare, contrast, paragraph, then you're going to use these words in your writing. Okay, so you have to keep them in your mind. Okay guys, we have reached the end of our lecture video. I hope that it was beneficial and everything is clear for you now. Stay safe and bye bye.